What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am AeroEnder, and for the third episode of AeroEnder Reads the News, we have stories about LL Cool J, the Hurricane Isaac, Apple, and someone who peed on breathalyzer tests. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, for our first story is coming from CNN, and the title reads, "Mama Said Knock You Out. LL Cool J broke burglary suspect's nose, jaw, and ribs." Jonathan Kirby, age 56, suffered a broken nose, jaw, and ribs when he encountered the muscular rapper inside his Sherman Oaks, California home. Prosecutors charged Kirby with first-degree burglary as a third striker, which means he could face 38 years to life in prison if convicted. The best part of this story, though, is that he first off tried to rob LL Cool J's house. Why would you pick him? Out of every millionaire in California, you pick one of the, obviously well-built rappers who could probably kick you clear through his house. LL Cool J's family was sleeping when their home security alarm sounded at 1 a.m., sending LL Cool J into action. After catching the man, he held him until police arrived. LL Cool J is even on a show called NCIS Los Angeles. Bad decision, burglar. Bad decision. On to the next story. Alright, for this story, we're going to discuss the Hurricane Isaac, which is about to bear down on the Gulf area of America. And I think today it was finally declared a Category 1 hurricane with 75-mile-per-hour wind. For this article, I just love the fact that it's had to be said, as if this needed to be an article. Obama vows help to battle Hurricane Isaac. President Obama vowed to make available the full force of the federal government this morning as New Orleans braces for its biggest storm since Hurricane Katrina 7 years ago. What were they gonna do before this press conference? Were they just gonna be like, New Orleans doesn't need our help, we can send in like 5 people. We need one care package. One sending of food for the New Orleans this time. Of course you're gonna fully back the city. What on earth? This completely needed to not be said, and if it actually needed to be said, as if Obama was scared that people were like, is the president gonna help his people? That's not good. Like, we should just automatically assume that when a natural disaster strikes a city, I don't know, we're gonna help. If you live in New Orleans and you're about to get hit by a Hurricane Isaac, I do hope you survive. I mean, New Orleans should be a lot more prepared for this one, since after Katrina 7 years ago, and both of these are travesty. If you live in that area or you know someone who lives in that area, I wish you the best. On to the next story. This story has to do with the latest Apple versus Samsung trial. The biggest trial that has been going on for a few years between Apple and Samsung is essentially Apple saying, Samsung copied our products. And with anyone with any common sense knows, Samsung copied their products. So the jury decided that Samsung owes Apple $1 billion in damages. Essentially, the ball's in Apple's court. Their stocks rose and Samsung's, well, they didn't plummet, but they fell. Apple's stocks actually almost hit its all-time high just because of the outcome of this trial. Here's the part that I think Apple might be trying to reach a little bit too much. Apple has asked the court for injunctions on Samsung's Galaxy S4G, Galaxy S2, Galaxy S2 Skyrocket, Galaxy S2 on T-Mobile, Galaxy S2 Epic 4G, Galaxy S Showcase, Droid Charge, and Galaxy Prevail. That is 8 different devices Samsung manufactured and has on the market right now. Apple is asking to remove 8 products. Apple's only made like 8 products in the last 10 years. Like, they revised the iPod 100 times, but seriously, iPod, iPhone, Apple TV, Mac, I know I'm forgetting something. Anyways, that seems like a bit much, Apple. You've won, your stocks have gone up, Samsung's lost $1 billion, and their stocks have gone down, and there's still other court cases that y'all are battling over. Leave this one alone. Apple does not need to go after 8 more devices that Samsung has on the market. I like how even Apple was like, no, we're not going to go after the Galaxy S3, because that one is popular, and I have the S3, and I love it, and more people should have it, and now that would be an epic trial. Apple trying to get the S3 pulled off the shelves, and Samsung would probably pour all its money into that trial because the S3 is a moneymaker. On to the next story. Let me just read you the headline from this article coming from Huffington Post. Ebola phone theft. Man steals from quarantined Uganda hospital patient. Contracts Ebola virus. Boom! Karma'd. Alright, so this unidentified 40-year-old thief took a $23 phone from a patient at a hospital. Let's set the scene. This guy is in a hospital. He sees someone, probably in a quarantined area at the very least, but he sees someone who is sick and maybe has his phone on the desk or something. He's asleep, he walks in and steals the man's phone. He walks out, unbeknownst to him, that on that phone is the Ebola virus. To top it all off, the patient this guy stole from apparently succumbed to a deadly hemorrhagic fever stemming from the virus and reported the phone missing right before he died. By that point, the thief was already showing symptoms of Ebola virus, which its symptoms are rash, diarrhea, vomiting, and bleeding from every orifice. That sounds like justice to me. So remember, kids, if you steal a phone, you'll contract Ebola virus, have massive diarrhea, and die. This has been a public service announcement from AeroEnder. Next story. Alright, for our last story, it is kinda a funny one. A man was arrested for a DUI. Thomas, who was age 26, a forklift operator from Christchurch, kinda ironic, was arrested by authorities for drunk driving after smashing into a living room. You know you have a good story when it just starts off. Like, that's the setup. Oh, he smashed his car into a living room. An alcohol breath test at the police station registered that there was more than 3 times the legal limit of booze in Thomas's system. After the suspect had an alcohol reading that was 3 times above the legal limit, the on-duty officer went to complete the paperwork and suddenly heard what he thought was the sound of running water. The officer turned his head and reportedly saw Thompson, still seated, urinating into a box of breath screening tubes. All 301 tubes had to be tossed, and Thompson was charged with willful damage and ordered to pay about $88 to replace the damage. So this guy gets arrested for drunk driving, has 3 times the legal limit in his blood system, after crashing his car into an old lady's house, and then pisses on a bunch of breathalyzing tubes in the police station. That's just one crazy night, I guess, right there. How would you even react to that? Like, sir, please stop pissing on the tube. Obviously that guy is way too wasted to know what he's doing. You would actually have to grab him and stop him from urinating, which is not a process I want to know about. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of AeroEnder Reads the News episode 3 for August 28th, I believe. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to me down here. If you hated what you saw, please leave a dislike. If you also liked what you saw, please leave a like. The last episode on my channel should be here. Ooh, I faked ya. Here, it's actually right here. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. Although I should upload again before another week. And hope you liked it. Have a great day. Peace.